We'll start.
Yes.
Okay. पहला slide. Everyone, my name is Pianshu. We are all the students of electronics. So if we don't know about the problems, side effects, or the environmental impacts of the father or maybe mother of the electronic devices, that is computer chips or better known as silicon chips, then we are not eligible to get a professional degree such like Bachelor of Technology, because it's exactly like you are studying Ramayana without knowing Lord Ram. So yeah, we can refer silicon chips to as Lord Ram if we are referring Ramayana to as our course, Electronics and Communication. So yeah, myself, Pianshu Gupta, and my friend Soumya Pratim Das are available here to present our idea over the topic of silicon chips and its devastating effects that it is creating on our environment and also on our human health. I know as an EC student, you will appreciate that. Now let's begin. Silicon chips has two faces, exactly like some nowadays some humans have. Sometimes it's considered as a friend, but mostly it's considered as an enemy. So basically, our topic is about silicon chips. So silicon is the inherent semiconductor. So a semiconductor, technically speaking, a semiconductor refers to a class of solid or maybe a crystalline material which has an electrical conductivity more than that of insulators, that is rubber, plastic, glass, but less than that of conductors, that is copper, aluminum or gold. These are useful as a base material in the manufacturing of computing chips. However, these are not only used in computers. These computers only make up 44% of entire industry consumption. These are also used for military, automotive, communication and other purposes. Actually, it is the brain of all the computing devices. Now, what is a computing chip, or as better known as silicon chip? Actually, we can say that it is a set of electronic circuits which is placed over a flat piece. These are in massive use as a large number of electronic components can be integrated into a small chip. Now, as the name suggests, these are made up of silicon, that is the 14th element of the periodic table. Silicon lies in the p block. It, uh, it is present in the group 14 and period 3. Its atomic weight is 28. Foremost among silicon's distinguishing features is that, quite simply, there is a whole hell lot of it. It isn't the only semiconducting substance present on the earth, and it's not even the best semiconductor available. But it is widely used as, after oxygen, it's the second most abundant element in the earth's crust. But don't expect to find it just lying around you. It's never found in pure state in nature, and virtually it always comes as a compound with other elements. It is most commonly found as a silicate or a silica. In silica, we all know it's a primary component of sand. So now I would like to give you all a brief idea of how the silicon chips are made. The manufacturing of these chips is a bit complex and may require several steps to complete the process, including crystal processing, water fabrication, final layering, cleaning, designing, and assembly. Actually, at first, silicon is formed into pure silicon crystals using the Szostalski method, which is generally the transformation of raw material, that is a quartz rock in our case, into metallurgical grade silicon with the help of an electric arc furnace. In order to remove impurities, the metallurgical grade silicon is liquefied and distilled to form rods, which is later broken into small chunks. These chunks are heated up to 2500 degree Fahrenheit in a special oven which protects the material from getting oxidized and forming unwanted products. In this case, we use argon gas so as to reduce the level of oxygen in the oven. The molten product formed is poured into a crucible where it is set to spin. Then a small seed crystal is inserted into the crucible which gets formed into a big crystal which weighs around 50 to 100 kgs. You may refer this process to if you have visited any local Mera or fest, then you have seen the stall of a candy floss, that is those fluffy pink candies. In that case, they just pour a long stick and they roll over the machine and the candies get formed. This process is also similar to that. Then this last crystal is cut into slices called wafers. In order to make sure that it is impurity free, once again the buffering of the wafer takes place. Then the wafer is coated with some photosensitive chemicals and then it's exposed to the UV light to remove any extra chemicals present. Finally, the wafer's slices get ready, but we all know that chip design has multiple layers. So this process is repeated many times. After all, the process gets completed and the silicon chips are sliced from the wafers. So we get the ready product, that is the silicon chips, which is ready to be sold. So this was the procedure part. Now why silicon chips are ruling the electronic industry? These small chips can work approximately 100 or maybe 1000 times faster than those of discrete circuits. Their efficiency factor is also very high. That is, they produce large amount of power than they take in. It is so small that it just covers 10 to 20% of our fingers. These are very hard, so they don't easily bend or break. The best part is that they are very cheap. Approximately they are $0.30. But these are not considered the best in the market because although they are very hard, but they are very brittle. So they need to be handled safely or they break if excessive pressure is applied. The earlier stated procedure also is carried out in a clean room where engineers have to wear bunny suits in order to get protected from the harmful toxic gases, or else they would get some health problems. If these chips are exposed to high temperature, they can get even damaged or even stop responding due to external or internal burn. They are only cheap if the production quantity is huge. So if your production quantity is low, then maybe they can cost you very high. So a large capital is needed to set up a startup of silicon chips. So these were the advantages, disadvantages, and the procedure of the silicon chips. Now we are onto the applications of it. Where are these used? You can see everywhere silicon chips, including actually these are present in all electronic devices, including robotics, artificial intelligence, televisions, air conditioners, Fitbits that you are wearing nowadays, smartphones, laptops, or desktops. Now, what is the environmental impact of it? So the materials used in making every 6-inch silicon wafer are as follows. We use 3,200 cubic feet of bulky gases. So you can imagine how many gases are involved in it, how much quantity is involved. These gases are used for purging vacuum pumps in abandonment systems, and these are also used as a process gas. Among all, nitrogen is used the most in the semiconductor manufacturing. Next, we use 22 cubic feet of hazardous gases. So you can imagine how much impact does it causes on the nature. These gases are used for doping and etching the wafers. Next, we use 2,275 gallons of deionized water. Deionized water or digrade water or type 2 water is also known as purified water, which has its all minerals ions removed. We know that water contains cations like sodium, calcium, iron, copper, and anions like chloride, sulfate, but these are all removed. This deionized water is generally used in engine cooling systems, as low level of mineral content means there is minimum scale buildup, thus prolonging the life of the system. It is often used to top up lead acid batteries. So this was the brief input and about what the industry take in to make a single 6-inch silicon wafer. Now, what are the problems and its devastating effects or impacts that are leading towards the end of the silicon chips manufacturing would be illustrated by my friend Soumya Pratim Das. Thank you everyone. This was my part. Hope you all got brief idea about the silicon chips.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, sir. So my name is Somapratim Das. I'm from EC's third semester, and thank you so much. Thank you, sir, Somajit Ghorai, for giving us this opportunity to present wonderfully. And I also thank my friend Priyanshu for explaining the content wonderfully. And now I shall proceed to the topic of how they affect the environment in order to bring this introduction to a meaningful end. Now let me start off by the topic the waste generated for every 6-inch silicon wafer produced in industry. Now here you can see the key quantities of the harmful products are 25 pounds of sodium hydroxide, 2840 gallons of water wasted, and 7 pounds of miscellaneous hazardous waste. In miscellaneous hazardous waste, it consists of many type of harmful gases, many solid wastes, and many things. Now, one of the most harmful type of waste produced are the air pollutants. We all know how air pollutants affect us daily. It's a leading problem in today's world. So for each 6-inch silicon wafer produced in the industry, there are the acidic gases such as HCl, fluorine, ammonia are released. We all know its harmful effect. We have studied them since childhood. For each 6-inch silicon wafer, volatile organic compounds such as methanol, methylene chloride, chloroform, etc. are produced. And apart from that, toxic gases like arsine, hydrogen fluoride, glycol, methanol, etc. are produced. We will all study about their effects later in this presentation. Now, besides air pollutants, one of the most harmful things are the water pollutants or waste stream pollutants. Here you can see that each 6-inch silicon wafer produced generates this kind of waste, like deionized water solvents, alkaline cleaning solutions, photoresists and acids, metals, chromium, etc. These are just, the list is actually endless, but these are the key ones that harm us. And now coming to one of the main topics, that is the carbon emission. We all know that vehicles emit carbon and many other things do, but we rarely know about the fact that our silicon chips also emit carbon. The higher the levels of carbon in the atmosphere, the more the temperature is. The rise in temperature causes harm in every living being possible. Here you can see that atmosphere affects the crops and plants by increasing the rate of photosynthesis, which affects their productivity. Also, the carbon emission causes a rise in temperature, which directly causes global warming and melting of ice caps. Increased water levels harm the sea creatures and ocean creatures. As the ice melts, it adds to the salty water and thereby declines the salinity of water that is required for the aquatic animals to survive. Let us look at some of the long-term effects of carbon emission. The heat waves. Heat waves are the ones which we experience regularly in summer. These are the deadliest hot weather type, and increase in carbon dioxide just adds more to the problem. We have all experienced how heat waves feel like. Now, the second point is pollution. Pollution currently kills more than around 9 million people per year. Higher levels of carbon dioxide increase pollution levels worldwide, and it is seen as a big problem nowadays. Insect plagues. Now, warmer weather increases the arrival of harmful insects. Since the insects can bear with the change in their habitat and environment, so they come out in order to protect themselves. So These pests expand the territory above and remain longer before the cold weather removes them, essentially increasing the potential victims of the disease. And apart from that, we have got natural disasters like ice melting, global warming, and now let us come to the part of the chemicals used in manufacturing process and how they affect us. Here you can see a table, a brief table of what are the chemicals used. This is not the actual table, not the full table, but the main chemicals which generally harm us. First, we can see acetone. This causes nose, throat, eye irritation, and possible coma. Arsenic, we all know about it since childhood. It's mostly carried in water and causes nausea, vomiting, and this is a known carcinogen for lung cancer. Benzene. This is one of the most important things used in manufacturing process. Benzene is a very popular cause of blood cancer or known as leukemia. It also causes damage to the bone marrow, immune system, etc. And cadmium. This is also a very famous cause of lung cancer and prostate cancer. It causes damage to lungs and reproductive toxicity. Hydrochloric acid, highly corrosive, and it is very dangerous. We all know in the laboratory, and it causes respiratory irritation, eye irritation, skin damage, etc. Lead. This is also one of the most important substance used in manufacturing process. It causes damage to reproductive system, spontaneous abortion, premature birth, and low birth weight in children. And methyl chloroform. This is not that abundantly used, but yeah, it is. It is used not that in such a low scale, but still it counts. It causes headache, central nervous system depression, poor equilibrium, eye, nose, and skin irritation. So the topic, and we all just saw how they generally affect our daily lives and the earth as a whole. Bringing this presentation to an end, let me briefly take a few points to conclude. Even since the silicon integrated circuit was reinvented, the innovation in tech industry has been spectacular. Eventually, there may come a time where Moore's law comes to an end. Perhaps in few coming years, gallium nitride might replace the silicon chips in devices, but just like every other coin has two sides, let us not forget the amount of destruction to the environment and mankind that comes with silicon chips. Indeed, increasing technology has its own wax and waxes. We as individuals should constantly keep that in mind. Here to new technological advancements running parallel with eco-friendly measures. Here to a better future. Thank you. I would like to end my presentation here. Here are the references used, and here are the design side I used, and that's it. Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity to present.
Very good presentation. আচ্ছা আচ্ছা এইখানটায় আমার একটা কোশ্চেন প্রিয়াংশু one question I have.
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা how can you determine the silicon after the formation of silicon chips from different ores of silicon, different ores of different metal? So how can you determine this silicon chip after generation? Is it pure or impure? How can you determine?
Yes, so we can test it through X-ray.
Which test is used? Which test is mainly used for the determination of the purity or impurity?
So it is photolithography. So we use that to check the hardness and the purity of the silicon wafer formed.
Acha. So what is the percentage of purity?
So it's approximately 80 to 85%.
80 to 85%. Okay, very good. Acha. So now in that case, you already told that oven melts the chunks by heating it over 2500 degree Fahrenheit. So why more amount of energy, more amount of heat is required for this process?
So because their melting point is very high, so they are heated up to 2500 degree Fahrenheit. And in order to get more purity, attain more purity, we usually liquefied it and distill it so that the impurities get aside.
Okay, go to next page. So now in that case, you have already said that each chip design has multiple layers, so the photo lithography steps are repeated. So in that case, you have already told that different type of chemicals used for the photolithography. So which type of chemicals used for this photolithography process?
So generally we use photosensitive chemicals.
Photosensitive means photosensitive. Which type of materials are used? Photosensitive material. There are lots of photosensitive material, but which type of photosensitive materials are you using for this process?
Yes, sir. We use quinolones, sulfonamides, trimethanoprime.
Okay, okay, very good. Okay, so next page. Advantage. Next page. Acha. So in that case, in your application part, first part is the low power consumption. So how it works?
So actually the efficiency factor is approximately 0.8 or 0.9, which is a very good one. So with if we apply a very less input, the output is huge. So
But know
you can
that
see,
intrinsic semiconductor. Okay,
yes,
so
sir. So it is doped.
So its conducting power
It
is
is made.
very low.
Yes, sir, it is doped. It is made to extrinsic semiconductor so as to perform well.
So which type of material is used for extrinsic semiconductor? Which material is
So
used?
generally boron is used.
Okay. Boron. So phosphorus is phosphorus used? Is phosphorus used?
Yes, sir, sometimes phosphorus is also used. They are N-type or P-type semiconductors, and upon use we make them.
That means silicon chips are mostly used in case of either P-type or N-type semiconductor. Silicon chips.
Yes, sir, they are. Yes,
normally.
sir, they are doped for better use. Yes, sir.
Okay. ঠিক আছে, চলো সৌম্যপ্রতিম চলো পরের পেজে চলো আমি বলবো লেটস ফাউন্ড ঠিক আছে চলো
ওয়াটারটা দিতে পারছেন?
হ্যাঁ আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি, তুমি চলো আমি চেঞ্জ করো তোমার পার্টে যাবো, তোমার পার্টে চলো। এবার বলো তো তুমি, হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে এটা থাক, তার আগে একটা জিনিস বলেছিলে, তুমি বলেছিলে যে আইপিএ, হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ফুল ফর্ম অফ আইপিএ? একটা বলেছিলে আগের পার্টে তুমি, যেখানে ডিফারেন্ট টাইপস অফ হ্যাজার্ডাস মেটেরিয়াল রিমুভিং ফ্রম দিস প্রসেস, সো ওয়ান মেটেরিয়াল ইজ আইপিএ, সো হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ফুল ফর্ম অফ আইপিএ?
আইপিএ কি?
আইপিএ তো তোমরা কালকে ইউজ করতে এখন।
Yes, sir, it is isopropyl alcohol.
হ্যাঁ, স্যানিটাইজারে তো আইপিএ তো ইউজ হয়। ওকে,
It's a solvent and cleaner.
সলভেন্ট এন্ড ক্লিনার। আচ্ছা, অ্যাসিটোন আর্সেনিক। আচ্ছা সৌম্যপ্রতিম, তুমি বলো তো আর্সেনিকটা কোথায় ইউজ করছো তোমরা এখানটায় ফর দ্য ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং অফ সিলিকন চিপ? আর্সেনিকটা
arsenic is used in doping, sir.
আচ্ছা, in that case arsenic is used in case of
Doping and formation of semiconductor, N-type semiconductor.
okay, very good. Acha, benzene and acetone is used for the chemical mechanical polishing of silicon wafers. Benzene is used photoelectrochemical etching. So what is photoelectrochemical etching? Any idea?
Sir, no, not that clearly.
Acha, Priyanshu, any idea about photoelectrochemical etching?
Yes, sir. It is used to fabricate sheet metal using a photoresist or some etchants to prevent the corrosion.
Yes. Okay, very good. Now next page, next page. Cadmium, HCl, lead, methyl. In that case, HCl and benzene both used in photochemical etching. So now, which one is more efficient, and why both reagents are used for photochemical etching?
So both have side effects. So both are used so that the least side effects are created to the environment.
No side effect, but in that case, both have different importance or different function for photochemical etching. So why both are used simultaneously?
So some factories use HCl, some factories use benzene. So they have a different thinking.
Achha, it depends on factory. Depends.
Yes, sir.
Achha, okay. So now in that case, you have to use cadmium for the create holes in silicon.